Welcome back, ICB Army. We are the Ice Cream Boys. I am Travis St. John. This is Jose Guerrero. Um.
I think my pops is working.
Oh, okay.
It's
I
not
was
me.
like, is the ceiling about to collapse on us? What the fuck?
No.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to do. This is one. I think we need to do the taboo talks a little bit more frequently
I think so.
because I think those mean a lot to people, especially when we talk about real shit.
And I think a lot of people can relate to the stuff.
Yeah, and it's like, the whole reason we made it is after you and I sat down because I wanted to tell my story of led me to my suicide attempts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you and I talked about it, and what did that take? It took like 2 weeks of you and I talking about it, where it's like, let's just do this, and it's like, we're just going to be honest and be straightforward.
I think it was more like us talking about it and seeing how it was going to play out.
Yeah.
Because we obviously didn't want to glorify the act, but also it's a very taboo topic.
Oh yeah.
Because it was a hard thing for me to talk about after my brother, so so having to hear that from your end was rough on me, even though I didn't even say more than maybe 5 words in the 2 hours that we did that first taboo talk.
Yeah.
But we wanted to make sure that we didn't glorify it and people were like, oh, let me try this, rather than let me reach out. Because we really wanted to make sure that people saw where we were coming from and knowing that they're not alone.
Yeah.
And that there's people around you that will hear you out and will be there for you.
Yeah.
If you need it.
Well, and a big thing for me was why we did this is my reasoning was the reason what, and of course, no, you don't glorify like suicide. It's not to be glorified. It hurts so many people around you. It's not. There's always other options in taking your own life, which we talked about that. But it's one of the main reasons I got to that point is because I was so terrified to tell anybody how I felt, and that's why I wanted to, for multiple reasons. One, I was in a place where I didn't feel like there were people around me that I could talk to about it, which was just having a bad support system, having the wrong friends around me. And then it's that stigma of like, I'm not trying to say men are oppressed or anything, but it's like that stigma that men have where we get it from other guys, we get it from women, where it's just suck it up. And like, I'm not saying everybody does it, but it's a general thing for like men. It's like, you just suck it up, tough it out, you're a man, like suck it. Like,
and I think that has to do with the way that parents were raising us.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times, like I remember growing up was, boys don't cry.
Yeah.
And then playing sports and stuff, it was always like walk it off, rub some dirt on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of desensitized what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, like, programs us to have no feelings or emotions. Or a way to express them without going in some rage. Because, I can just remember whenever...
And that's the thing is I didn't even learn how to express them. It was just bottling them up, which led to what I almost did.
Yeah.
Right? And, what's funny is, like, I'd been taught that way. I had other guys tell me that growing up. I had girls tell me that growing up, where it's... And I just had this outside of my own personal issues where I didn't feel like I didn't have many friends at the time. I always felt like I was like the black sheep out of everybody around me, where I've always had this issue with self-value and thinking that, oh, if I talk to these people about what's wrong with me and the way I'm thinking, they're going to think I'm a freak, or they're going to think there's something that they're not going to, that'll just kill what little value I have to them left, because they're going to think I'm a weird ass for doing that. And so, I wanted to do this because, interesting enough, it was a pair of bodybuilders and a fighter that like had these talks with me at points in my life that I was struggling with, and both of like, which is like a macho things that they do, both of them were like, it's okay to cry, let it out. Sometimes you gotta let that shit out. It's good for you to get that out of your system, and then think about what's going on, talk to people around you. Like, those are the people that first approached me with that. You were probably the first real friend I had that would sit down and have talks with me like this, and it scared the shit out of me having those talks with you. But the way you reacted, how you reciprocated, how you talked to me, how you supported me through those things, I was like, what the fuck? Like, I never thought I would be able to have conversations like this. Even
and I
now,
think a
it's,
lot
like,
of them
surprising.
happened at work.
Yeah.
Like I feel like a lot of those times we were at either Larry's or Tidal, and we would just sit there and just kind of have like a heart to heart
Yeah.
between classes. Or
Well, it was probably because it was also the most time we'd ever spent together, where we were really
well,
spending a lot of time.
we were seeing each other very
frequently, but not when we were working together 6 to 8 hours a day.
Yeah, and then we'll probably hang out afterwards. So it's like constant.
So it's like because our friendship is built. Granted, we've known each other for 12 years, but our friendship has built so much in the past 4 that
yeah,
that's where like things have been a little bit different, and like we've really explored this. But so we did Taboo because that first episode of what we talked about, that shit's taboo. People don't openly talk about shit like that, and I wanted to do this one today because I've been thinking a lot about myself, my relationships I've had with people I've dated in the past, relationships I've had with friends, where I've fucked up, where they fucked up. I actually found something out recently about a friend that I'll tell you off air, that he did something very disrespectful and like something I would never do to a friend. And as a matter of fact, in the same
towards you,
I'll explain off air.
Okay.
But basically, I was put in the same situation as he was, and I had the exact opposite response, which I'll tell you about off air. Just because I'll have to tell you names because you'll understand better. And this isn't the way I'm feeling right now and how I am. It's not about the relationship. I can't say that. It's not about like missing her or anything because I'm over it. It's more about my thought process behind how everything's gone, where I'm at. I mean, just the first thing that I know and like that I thought about, and I realized this the other day. I'm getting out of the second my lease is up in June. I'm getting out of Dallas. I'm coming back here. I don't like being this far away from y'all. I don't. It fucking bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been realizing that more and more, and that it's like I have no problem being in my place alone, but it's like if I want to come out here and see y'all, like it's something I have to plan out. It's not just, hey, I just got off of work, you want to come hang out? It's like, well, I got Bear, and then I've got all this other shit, and like then that's adding up to like an hour and a half, 2 hours before I can even get there. And and I think that's something that's been bothering me for a while, and I didn't think about it until now, where it's like, this is fucking. I don't like being 50 minutes away, so I don't know if I'm gonna move all the way back to like Arlington or Irving or what I'm gonna do, but I've made that decision the other day where I'm coming back here to where it's like my drive to work won't be terrible, but also I can just come over here or see Derek or whatever immediately afterwards too. But yeah, I got to thinking like, which I saw a meme that was funny and it kind of like spurred me. I hate when it's something that seems stupid that spurs like intense thought in your head, and you're like, this is just so dumb, where it's like one little thing that just seems like a blow off joke makes you really think about how you do shit.
Yeah.
And it was something about fuck small talk, tell me about where it all went wrong. And I was like,
I've seen something like that.
And I saw that and I was like, I laughed at it for a bit, but it kept sticking in my head. And I was wondering why. And I had this thought the other day. I was like, man, which relationship wise, it's like, I've talked to a few people since this happened. A lot of people messaged me after I got in my feelings on Instagram one night. And it's that weird moment when it's like you feel like you should be attracted to somebody and you're not, and you're like numb to it. And it's just one of those weird things where it's like, I could be friends with you, but I feel like I should be sexually attracted to you, and yet I'm not. And I'm wondering if that's me. I wonder if that's me aging and the maturity and the mental development, where it's like, once again, Taboo Talk about, I'm not 20 anymore, man. I don't give a shit about like one night stands or just fucking somebody one time. Like, I honestly don't want to do it. And it's funny when like I've had girls seem shocked when I tell them no. And it's like, yeah, it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
It's weird. And like, I know it's weird. But at the same time, I'm like, you know, to me, besides like what I'm into sexually, sex is sex. But as someone who's experienced it, like with someone you love and someone you're emotionally invested in, everything. And that's something I did not understand when I was younger.
Dude, it changes the whole
It changes
game.
everything. It's just like getting to know your partner and getting to know like them, and not only mentally, spiritually, but physically too. Like, you know, it's drastically better. It's so much better when there's emotion and real shit behind it. And then, I mean, I'll fucking talk about it, but it's like when I'm into sexually too, it's like that's something I have to prepare people for and like explain to them and be like, I know we're gonna have to like ease into this kind of shit.
He likes anal beads, by the way.
No, okay,
like really
first
big
up,
ones that like interchange. It's like a Cuban link chain, but with giant like racquetball size. Racquetball size.
No, never.
Big old things.
Oh my god.
He's into like
it's
spanking.
It's BDSM, and it's nothing like crazy or extreme. Like it's honestly mild compared to what I know some people do.
He's got a swing.
No, that's just complicated.
It's like 50 Shades of Grey.
Bro, if you're drilling stuff into the ceiling, like you gotta trust your foundation and shit. And like my townhouse, I'm not trusting that shit.
The whole sheet
breaks out, a fucking bat flies out and shit. But no, like that's that kind of.
How does that conversation go,
dude? Like
I'm really curious on like,
okay,
hey,
so
like things are getting hot, and then you're just like, hey, do you mind?
No,
if I pull
okay.
Out my...
So let me explain that shit.
Let me pull out my.
This is something that I had to learn and grow through, right?
Because I feel like you show okay.
This is not where I expected to go with this today, but we're going there.
Let's fuck it. All right, let's go. I just feel like you tell the girl like, "Oh, you ready?" and then you pull out like a Dexter flap of like different weapons.
No, okay, so, and this sounds like something that you shouldn't have to say, but you do sometimes. Consent is very important to me. Don't start.
Absolutely.
Consent.
In this house, we believe in consent.
Well, no, and let me explain why. Because I've had people that I've explained, like, for example, and I've told the girls this, I don't have sex with drunk girls. I don't. Unless I'm dating them. In which case, it's like, that's okay, but I really don't prefer it. Or in a relationship with them. My apologies. Because that's different. No, not date. Like, there has to be a title on it. My bad.
Like a.
And I had a girl ask me one time, she was like, so why is that? And I was like, well, there's actually two reasons behind it. I was like, of course there's the moral reason of like, if you don't actually want this, like, that's right. Fucking rape. So I'm sorry, I don't want to hear any of that Brock Turner, whatever the fuck that dude's name is, bullshit. I don't want to hear that. It's if someone doesn't, even if like they seem like they may, if a girl, let me explain this to all guys. If a girl's so drunk that she's stumbling, no,
I don't.
No.
The thing is, I don't understand what a man gains from that.
I don't know either. But if she can't walk properly, you think she can give you a coherent, logical answer? No. And so
No.
that's one of the main reasons I fuck with it. The second reason, I told this to this girl and she was stunned by this because I was honest about it, in which I put in my last Instagram post, like I have nothing but, I will be nothing but transparent with people for the rest of my life. Like I'm done hiding shit about myself. The other half is my ego. And this comes from like what I'm into, where I'm a BDSM pleasure focused dominant, is I want someone to want me. I don't want alcohol to want me. I want someone to want me and want those things with me and to remember every second of it. So like there's the moral reason, but then there's like the ego side of it too, and that's why I'm so stern on the shit. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, if you try to kiss me and we've never kissed before, I'm gonna be like, hang out.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm wearing till marriage.
Yeah, to kiss.
You ever seen those those like
you jumped.
You scared me.
I was about to fly up one right on you, Bubba.
Not during Corona. You ever seen those like shows on like TLC or those reality ones where it's like they save themselves to kiss?
That shit's hilarious. That couple
they look like two
before.
snakes trying to eat each other.
Terrible.
It's ridiculous.
Anyways, back to what you had asked me.
Back to anal beads.
So, I got into this at like 16, where it was more like the dominance factor of it, and I feel like that's because I didn't have dominance in a lot of areas of my life, but there was just something that really had me enjoy it. And this was like right before 50 Shades came out. As a matter of fact, I think 50 Shades came out my senior year of high school. And
I've never seen any of the movies.
No, the book.
Oh, the book.
The book. And so I kind of like had some inklings of like some stuff that I didn't know what it was, because that's not something that educates you on in like health sciences. Of like, okay, here's the reproductive, here's what sex is. Now let's talk about kinks. You like stuff up your butt? Here you go.
I was going to start with toes, but I mean, he's going.
You like sucking toes? Let's do that. And so, it's. So back then, I like didn't know how to explain shit, and I'm 16. I'm living with my parents. I can't keep my parents go through my room shit. I can't keep toys and stuff like around. Mm-hmm.
They walk in. There's just like 50 different candles. Bed Bath and Beyond.
People come into my house now. They're like, "You really like candles, huh?" I'm like, "Uh huh."
Wearing long sleeves all the time.
So. And I hate even saying this, but like then the book came out and everybody was talking about it, right? And I just saw a pair of handcuffs on it and I was like, that's hot. And so I took one and I started reading it and I was like, oh, this is what I'm into, kind of. Mm-hmm. Because the way he thinks about things, I'm not about like the hurting people shit, and that's like his prime directive. Spock. That's his primary shit at the beginning of the stories is like, he wants to punish little girls who were like his mom, that looked like his mom because his mom was a prostitute and all this shit.
That's weird.
And yeah, it's really disturbing. Which I don't kink shame people, but there's some shit I'll tell you I think is fucking weird that's just not my cup of tea. Like when people like put people in dog collars and like walk them and shit. I'm sorry. I'm just.
That's enough for me.
I'm out, champ.
That's a no.
But so I then figured out what it was. So I started doing research into it. Mm-hmm. And then when I went to college, I talked to a psychology professor, and part of what she had studied was like sexual psychology. So I just asked, I was like, I want to like learn more about this. And she was like, my tutoring hours are this time. And I went and saw her for like 18 weeks straight, every Thursday for like 2 hours. And she would just explain sexual psychology to me. Even shit I wasn't interested in, because she was like, if this is something you're interested in, it's something you want to do, you need to understand every aspect of it.
Right.
So backtracking a little bit, when I'm 17, I figure out, okay, I'm into this BDSM and shit. Any girl I told was horrified. Like, they thought I was a freak. They're like, you want to hit me? I'm like, no, like, that's, damn it, like, Jesus Christ, let me explain this shit to you. No, I don't want to hit you. Fuck. And then, like, now I actually know, because I had, so it was hard for me to explain to people, so, like, I never got to do it. And it was very, very frustrating when it's like, there's this desire I have that, like, vanilla sex is great, but, like, there's this desire I have that's not being fulfilled frequently.
Right.
I went 3.5 fucking years without filling it to where I was faking orgasms. So, yeah, I'll talk I'll talk about that today. So, like 17 to 20. Honestly, like 25. I only got to do it like a few times, but every time I remember vividly because it was like exact setup, and it meant so much to me that someone was like willing to trust me. Because that's the big thing, is like it's not so much a dominance thing to me, it's more of a trust thing. It's a trust. I've studied this, I know what I'm doing, and I want to take care of you. And so for the longest time, like, I had girls that were like just scared shitless of like the ideas of it. They're like, you want to tie me up? Like, it's a scary thing for some people, because if you don't have that trust, it's scary. It's scary to like experiment with sensory deprivation, where it's you're handcuffed, you have a blindfold on so you can't see anything, and you have headphones on so you're only hearing one thing. So that way, all you can really feel is touch, and it hyper awares that sense. But at the same time, that's scary as shit for some people if you don't trust that person. Right? So it's like, if I just pulled all that out from the very get-go. So that was something, and that was another problem, is that I would wait a long time to talk about that.
So it just came out of nowhere in their eyes.
Well, I feel like it was more something that maybe they felt I was hiding, and like girls would think like, oh, can you like not live without this? And where I've even said this now, where this doesn't have to be every time, but it's something I like to do. And
right.
And I have, I literally have a whole sheet of like hard limits, soft limits, and straight up no's. Like, here's some things. Hard limit is something or hard limit, soft limits, and yes. Hard limit is like something you will not do. Soft limit is something that's like, let's try, see how it goes. And a yes is just straight up like, yes, we can do this. And it's something we have a discussion about, and like I mark everything down so I know going into things. So it takes like a lot. Like, there's like,
you pull up with a clipboard and you just
I print it out. So it's
like a menu.
Yeah, actually, if you look at it, but that's part of the consent thing to me, is like, just because you say, yeah, cool, I'm into trying out the things you like, it's like, cool, let's go into detail about everything and find out, because there's some things that if you just say yes, that you may find out you don't like real quick.
Right.
And some things that we pace the shit out, where it's like, if you want to try this, we'll do it in like a non-sexual scenario, just see if you like how it feels, right? So there's like a lot of effort that goes into it, but back then I would wait a while and be like, hey, open that drawer real quick and tell me what you think about what you see in there. And I didn't exactly approach it like that.
It's like a mallet. Like one of those Ninja Turtle weapons.
And I had accrued a certain amount of things, and then I met my ex, and she refused to do anything like that. As a matter of fact, she did make a point.
She shook your hand one time, right?
Yeah. That was... So she made me throw all my stuff away, because she was like, oh, you've used those on other girls. I'm like, but I bleached them. Like, it's I
throw them in the washer.
I don't just throw them back in the drawer. Like, you clean everything. I'm very meticulous about this shit. But I get it. And so she made me throw all that away. Worst sexual relationship of my entire fucking life. Hated every second of it. Faked orgasms for the last 2 years of it. It was terrible. And yeah. And so now I've been like blunt about it, where it's like,
well, fuck yeah, man. Like,
well,
why hide it at that point?
Well, so and it sounds weird, but to me it's like, you know what? Literally, how I've approached
put it on the table.
And in the past year, how I've approached it with girls I've talked to is, I'm like, hey, we're gonna go on this date and everything, right? Yeah, cool. We're adults. People have sex. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, here's what I'm into.
You pull out the
not
out?
Exactly. So I just, and there's always questions. There's always questions.
Oh, of course.
There's always questions. And I explain,
half the time I have questions.
Because, well, and here's the thing, is if you like...
Not that I go on the date. It's just like, he talks about anal beads and stuff. And
I have not talked about anal beads. Fuck you.
Okay, don't just because the camera's up. We'll talk about that later.
Okay. So... and like we could do a whole podcast, and maybe we will eventually, of where I explain like certain things about certain kinks and yada yada. There's a lot of stuff that I don't do that I know about because I want to be like up to date.
Right.
I don't get the whole foot thing. That's sometimes just
I
a
don't
nerd
get that
thing.
either.
But if a girl I know is into it, I'll suck your toes. Like I don't care. And
I won't suck your toes. I have retainers. I don't want them smelling.
So yeah, now it's just like, hey, here's what I'm into. What you think about that, champ? And as I've gotten older, people have been more accepting of it. Where it's like, but that's still the thing. Same thing. What I hear most coming now is like, is that something you need every time? It's like, well, no. And plus, it takes like a lot of preparation. So it's like if we're on vacation. Yeah. Well, it's just like tying knots and doing certain things and setting up certain things, and like if we're using multiple things at one time or if we're using just one thing, it's very dependent. So it can take a brief bit of setup where it's like I'd like to do it like once a week or so, but we'll figure that out. But it's something I can not do every time, but it's something I have decided I do not want to live without anymore because I truly it means so much to me. It's like, let me explain to you why and show you this. And 99.99% of the time, I guarantee you will be into it. And so I've gotten like people who are a lot more accepting about it. That it's like there's certain things I want to do. It's like that's fine. That's why we have the hard and soft limits. It's like I like all of this. So if you say no to like a few things, that's okay. It doesn't bother me in the least bit. But what I'm also telling you is like try things out. Unbiased, like don't knock it before you try it. I hate to use that phrase. And then we'll do it like in a safe, secure way. And if you're not into it, cool. We stop and that's it. Mm-hmm. We have, and so there's also like,
is there a safe word?
So there's two versions of safe words. A lot of people don't know this. Just like with there's hard limits, soft limits. There's a soft safe word, and then there's a hard stop. Okay, so a soft stop is like it's a one word thing. So it's like Dallas. You use something that's not going to come up in conversation during fornication.
Yeah, we have a safe word.
What is it?
Kumquat.
But so
that was her idea.
So it's like Dallas. And Dallas lets you know, like, hey, what you're doing right now is too much. So if it's like Japanese drip candles or something like that, it's like, cool, that's done. And then at that point, it's like, anything else? And it's like, no, keep going. Cool. And then with a hard stop, because a hard stop means I am done. We're not starting again. It's I'm done. Because I've accidentally hurt you or something like that, or something's going on, or you're really uncomfortable, maybe a tie like rubbed too hard against you or something like that. And if you're hard stopping, that means something's happened. And we're done at that point. So, and that means I'm going to untie you, whatever it is we're doing at the time, take everything off, whatever it is. So that'll be more of a phrase. So it'll be like let's say 3 cities in a row. So it's like Austin, Waco, Arlington, something like that. To where it's like,
how are you going to make the hard stop harder than the soft?
Because that's letting you know it's done. A soft stop means just slow down or pull back.
Oh, I see.
A hard stop is like finished. Like something's going on, we need to stop immediately. And because literally, like if you hard stop on me, I'm done sexually. I'm done. Like it's not gonna, hey, I didn't mean it, let's pick back up. It's you say that is shut down button for me. That's how my brain works now. Because that's how I had to teach myself when I was learning about sexual psychology and understand, like, because certain things can cause slight pain to somebody if something happens. If like you're using a drip candle and something like accidentally burns a little bit too much, or if it lands on an area you don't want it to land on, or if someone's getting spanked or something like that and it's like a little too hard, or something else gets hit, or whatever it may be, if a tie or handcuff rubs or cuts somebody's wrist or something like that, there's like that added side that somebody can get slightly hurt, whether it's your fault or not. And so I'm
learning a lot.
Well, and it's, to be honest, I don't want that. It's not like
you don't want that.
I don't want the. It's with BDSM, you're mixing the pleasures and the pains. So the idea is essentially pains. What they'll do, slight pains, is they make your nerves light on fire. They jack your heart rate up. Both of those things, whenever your heart rate is escalated, you will orgasm stronger and quicker. So the more you do these things, the more like it'll add sensitivity to certain areas. Like you would never put it blatantly like on somebody's nipples or, but you do it around those areas and it forces blood flow, flushes that skin, forces blood flow to the area, makes the nerves more sensitive to actual pleasures as well. And so that's what you do with pains too. With like if for spanking, for example, near the ass or whatever it is, depending on that, forces blood flow to the area. Blood flow is very important when it comes to sex, of depending on where the high nerve areas are. That can even be on someone's neck or their lips or whatever it may be. So it's using everything in synchronicity, and it's not where I lean more to the pleasure side of things. There's people who are pain focused ominous. They lean more into the pain. That's like more what Christian was in 50 Shades of Grey. And then there's people who are like me who are more pleasure focused, and then there's some people that just do one or the other, and that's like a dominatrix. It's where there's no penetration whatsoever.
They just like dominate.
They just dominate, and they make you feel like shit. Yeah. And like that's why a lot of CEOs are into that shit, because they have no control, or they have so much control in their life that they want control taken out of their hands. So there's like so many different factors into this shit that the thing with me is I do not want to actually hurt that person. Mm-hmm. If it's like a slight thing, like that's okay. Like having your lip bit, it's hot. Depending on if that's something you're into, I think it's hot, even though it like slightly hurts me. That's fine. But if it's like an ow, fuck, like what are you doing? That's the difference.
Luna.
That's the but that's the difference. So, but yeah, and that's how I have to explain things to people now. Is I'm like, straight up, before we even go out, here's what I'm into. Like, you tell me if this is something you'll even ballpark, and we can like have a discussion about and shit, because I'm not gonna give it up. It's not something I'm willing to like, even if it's just like barely anything. I'll compromise, and there's stuff that if you're not comfortable doing, that's fine. But I'm not gonna go without this, because this is truly. And
at least you're honest about it, you know. Yeah. Like you're putting it on the table for them to kind of dissect and let them run if they need to.
It's like if you did. Well, here's the reason why. Is because it's like if you dated someone for 3.5 years and they told you they didn't like you did photography, so you're not allowed to do photography. I'm guessing that after that relationship, you're gonna be like, I need to make sure you're cool with me doing photography. Yeah. Same shit. It's something I love to do.
Right.
And it's not. It's like, to me, it's on multiple levels of why it's important to me, and it's just, it's my kink, and it's. Yeah, I don't. Nobody deserves to kink shame me. Like, it's just, it is what it is. And I'm always open to my partner's kinks too. You tell me what you're into. We'll discuss it. I'll tell you what I'm not or am not willing to do, and we'll go forward. Mm-hmm. And that's it. And we have an open dialogue about shit. But yeah, so
are you down for the human centipede thing? Where like
no.
Worth a try.
Once again, defecating on people, peeing up, shit on people. I'm not gonna kink shame you. I'm just not into it.
I don't think that was a kink. I think that was just attempted murder.
Oh, the human centipede? Yeah.
The human centipede.
I haven't seen it all the way through, but
neither have they.
But yeah, so obviously there's that. There's the sexual side of things, but it's like, you know, being in dating, we talked in the last Taboo Talk about like how I am when it comes to progression, and that when a relationship ends, I've listened to it like 3 times because I really wanted to hear what I said, and because obviously I had all these thoughts and I tried to convey them all as much as possible, but I wanted to, hearing myself say it outside of just thinking it is very pivotal for me. So I was thinking, I was like, you know, dating to me has always been like weird, because yeah, it's like you're starting over, and it's, so what's your birthday, like, you know, it's, everything's different, and sometimes it just doesn't click. But I feel like I need to start very early on in my relationship and be like, look, I don't want you to get into something that maybe you can't handle. Here's my trauma, here's my bullshit, here's things I've done to progress. You tell me right now if you think that's something you can handle. Can you handle knowing I've attempted suicide? Can you handle I've had like this trauma from these relationships? Like, are you gonna understand? Like, I may have insecurities at times.
Well, I don't think it's a handle thing. I think it's more of an understanding, because I feel like when people have, when they go through a depression or a depression episode, a lot of people don't know how to handle that. But it's not really about handling the situation. It's about understanding the situation and how to approach it. Because a lot of people are as soon as somebody says, you know, like I'm depressed or I'm having, they kind of just like, oh shit, you know, keep that away from me rather than, well, what's going on? Let's talk. And I think that's kind of looked upon when it comes to stuff like that. So seeing it as a handling thing, I think that's a little bit different than seeing it more of a...
No, I know what you mean. What I mean more is like, here's my past bullshit. So it's like, while I'm recovering from all these things, I'm always actively trying to do that.
Right.
If I seem paranoid or if I seem like something or something, whatever it may be in our relationship, understand where it's coming from. Understand that it's not you. It's shit that's happened to me.
Right.
And that it's something that we'll need to approve. And as long as like I see effort and I see certain things, I'm sure I'll be fine. But it's... understand that like I'm not reacting a certain way because of you haven't done anything to me yet, whatever it may be. It's just, here's situations I've had, and if I like overthink something or whatever it may be, but understand I'm going to stick around and I want to work through it and not just dip out. Like I'm not going to do that.
Well, also people don't understand, like we all come with baggage. There's some kind of baggage on everybody, and I think over time you kind of start to express that and kind of let your partner know what's going on. I'm not the type of person that just throws it on the table like, hey, this is me. But it's just the same thing about me bottling things up. Yeah. It's not like I keep things a secret. It's just that I'll randomly say something. So it's like, I don't know, I do it with Ashley all the time where I'll just tell a story. I'll tell a story and she'll have no idea. She's like, oh, you've never mentioned that before.
Well, that's a big thing with like, just getting to know somebody where I don't think you can ever truly stop. I don't feel like you and I could sit here and talk all day, every day, and there's still going to be stuff that has happened to us in our life that maybe we don't even remember that the other person doesn't know. So that's normal. I guess where I'm more coming from is like from the very beginning of a relationship being like, hey, this is what you're getting into. Just letting you know. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm not going to let it hinder me. And understand I'm working on things, and this I'm aware of this, and I'm not gonna let it on my end fuck things up.
Because I do that, I don't know why, but I always did that about my immigration status. Mm-hmm. Like I would like throw it on the table, like, hey, like this is what's going on. It's a daily struggle. Mm-hmm. I have to do this every 2 years. Like I would go through the whole process, and I would get the same reply. Like it was just like, I had no idea, or I thought you were a citizen. Yeah. Or like, why are you fucking doing that? And it's just, like I said, it's a baggage thing. So when me and Ashley were getting serious, I told her. I mean, she already knew, but I was like, hey, this is what's going on. Like, because it for a long time, especially under the Trump administration, I was worried that I was going to get revoked. Yeah. And if that was the case, my only option was to move back to Mexico.
Oh, I was going to say marry me.
Yeah. Fucking move back to Mexico.
Hey.
All I'm saying, if I'm taking anything in the butt, it's going to be cocaine going down south. They're going to be in little balloons.
I almost spit up water, bro. Come on, man.
It was going to be like Jonah Hill on...
oh, God.
What was it? Take Me to the Greek.
Put the drugs up your bum.
So that was always something that I was super clear about. Like, hey, this is what's going on. Yeah. If it comes down to it, like, I have to go. Like, it's not me trying to get paid under the table. Like, I'm not trying to be that. And then there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, like, you got to do what you got to do to survive, but I don't want to do things illegally. I didn't want it to hurt my progress later on. Yeah. And that was always something that I had talked to Ashley about.
And so I think one of the main reasons I think about this and why I've been thinking about this the past few days is whenever, and this is something like I learned in my last relationship, is whenever you start talking to someone, you're putting your best foot forward 99.99% of the time. So it's like you're seeing the best of that person, but you're not seeing when they get comfortable in the worst of that person, or like they're keeping certain things from you because they think certain stories or certain things about them because they're scared it would change your opinion about them, whatever it may be. And I've seen that multiple times where it's like in the past relationship, I saw that like as I got later in, I was like, oh, I was learning things about her. I was like, oh, she may not stick around because of these things she has going on with her. Sure enough, I was right. So it's where one, I don't want to hide things. I don't, I want to be transparent. So I don't want to be like, hey, here's who I am as a person. That being said, here's shit that has gone wrong in my life that I still have certain anxieties over, that I still have certain insecurities over. I'm not fucking perfect. So as long as we can understand that going into it, and like I'm letting you know, here's all my good shit, here's all my bullshit. And just let me know how you feel about this and what you think. And like, cause I'll tell you, me and who I am just in general around people, when I've been more open about it since we did the podcast on it, but the people I've told that didn't know me that I attempted suicide, they're shocked. And it's just like when I actually attempted it, like nobody saw it coming because of how I am personality wise. But back then it was more just because I bottled shit up. Now it's just like, that's just my personality where I'm a happy, bubbly, basically living cartoon character. And it's like absolutely shocking to them. They think you could like, that I would never do that. And it's just startling when they see my personality and then I tell them that and tell them like the place I've been in and how I've like thought about myself, and they're like, what the fuck? That doesn't like make sense at all. So it's one of those things where I want to be transparent because appearances can be deceiving, to where you think I'm just been like this happy-go-lucky person all my life. It's like, no, here's all the bullshit and here's everything, just so you can understand, like, I have anxiety attacks, I have issues like this, and like half my family's fucking dead. That fucks my head up all the goddamn time. Like, there's so many different things, and it's just made me think that aside from the way I've been approaching things in the past year, it's just kind of like I used to treat it as like a sales mentality of like seeing how they react. And it's like, do I need to tone down my personality a little bit? Do I need to hide it a little bit?
Oh,
like,
fuck that. See,
well,
one thing I learned and I think we talked about this when we talked about like the relationship and like me being single for so long. I learned my self-value and what I bring to the table. So it's like, I put myself on the table and I say, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Because I know who I am. I know how I am. And I'm probably one of the most loyal people that like
100%
that I've met myself.
Yeah.
So there's no like me toning down. Like, if this is who I am, you either like it or you don't.
Yeah.
There's no return policy type shit.
And so that's how I used to approach things, because like we had talked about, is I had those issues with like feeling like I had no value, feeling like I brought nothing to the table, yada yada. So it's like, okay, let me just kind of get the vibe of how they're like navigating, and I will try to match that. And now it's like, this is who I am. Take it or leave it.
That's what I'm saying, man. And it's such a like relieving feeling of just like, I can be myself 100% of the time and not have to worry about, was that too much? Can I tone it down?
Yeah.
And have to adjust to someone else.
When we say this, we don't mean like where we were talking about the last podcast, those people who are like, oh, my toxic trait is I'm like a bitch to waiters. It's like, no, we're talking about just, I'm fucking weird, yo. I watch anime, like I do shit that's considered like not normal. And I go out in public and I'll like meet a stranger and I'll be like, nice shoes, motherfucker. And they're like, appreciate you, motherfucker. And I'm like,
whenever I was at Larry's, when I first started, you know how they had us work in the tent?
Yeah.
That's how I would start conversation with people. I'm like, dude, dope shoes. And then they would come in and we'd just start talking. And Ashley and I have this thing, there's a trend right now on like TikTok and Twitter and all that stuff. And it's like a girl comes up and it's like, hey, show me your boyfriend's loyal without like showing me that he's loyal.
I've seen those.
And it's like they go into their room and they're playing with their
Star Wars shit. Yeah.
So we were over at TJ's house yesterday and we went over there for dinner. And she told me, I want to make a TikTok of that, and I was like, what do you mean? He said, I was playing fucking chess on my phone, and she was like, and she, like I was sitting there like concentrating and like
I need to play you back and log me out.
And she was like, yeah, this is how I would know that you would never cheat on me, is that you're just too busy playing chess on your phone. And that's all I do. I'm playing like 15 different people at a time.
Mine would be great if I was in a relationship, because I would just be sitting there, me watching anime going, arigato, hayo gozaimasu, dotaru.
Like, you've seen my shelf. It's full of Funko Pops, a wrestling belt.
Oh, yeah.
Pokemon stuff, and
mine's
I mean, it's all over the studio.
Mine's got a statue of Broly from Dragon Ball Z and All Might from my Hero.
Like I have my cameras, some paintings. I got a new comic book, if you can see it up there.
Oh, I was wanting to read that one.
Yeah, and comic books. So it's like,
yeah, I've got some from the 50s. Like, it's just, and yeah, man, it's one of those things where I stopped like hiding aspects of my personality or how I am, where it's like, you know, there's certain things that certain people have told me like are, I hate this word, like this phrase bothers me so much hearing it now, because it's only been used in a negative context to things that are like just my personality, where it's the phrase, you're too much. And I've had it said to like, you know, just sometimes in public, like, you're just too loud, you're too much. And it's like,
that's who. See, whenever we first started the podcast, like, I had so many people reach out to me that did, like, they don't know you, or they've heard stories, but it's always like, oh, dude, me and Travis did this. There were so many people that are like, dude, he's trying too hard. I'm like, dude, that's him.
That's me.
Or he's overdoing it, or he's overreacting. I'm like, no, that's literally how he is. I was like, that's literally how we talk. I was like, me talking shit about the movies, that's because he does that.
Yeah.
But this is who he is. Like,
yeah. Well,
this isn't him like playing up for the podcast. This is not a character that he plays here. This is who he is.
Dude, I come to your work and you're watching the cameras and I break dance in the fucking
in the middle of the store
computer thing, like waiting for you to figure it out. And I don't care. Like, all these people around me, I don't care. I don't fucking care. You know what's weird is like, my ex made a comment to me one time where I was like kissing her in public and I like grabbed her ass or something like that. And she's like, stop. And I was like, why? And she's like, because people are going to think I'm a whore. I'm like, because you're kissing your boyfriend? I'm like, who are these people? Are you going to see them again? And I'm like blatantly saying this out loud. She's like, would you stop? And I'm like, we're not going to see these people.
Yeah, who cares?
And if it's someone you know, then it's someone that you're probably friends with. Who cares?
Yeah.
They already know.
See, my parents were like that growing up. They were, you know, like that. It started, well, later on it was about the tattoos. And tattoos were like super frowned upon in our family.
Oh yeah, my parents.
Because it was like, oh, they. Again, my parents are like the old school Mexican. Like, when I told them I wanted to get a tattoo, they were like, oh, no, fuck no, you're not getting a tattoo. They're going to think you're a pothead. They're going to think you're a drug dealer. They're going to think you're a gangbang. We gangbanging out here. They're like, no, they're going to think you're in a gang and this and that. And I was like, who cares? Like, they were, don't put it anywhere that somebody's going to look at it, and you're not going to be able to find a job and this and that. I'm like, good, because I don't want that 9 to 5. Like,
yeah,
if I need to get a sleeve so that I don't have to sit behind a desk all day,
so be it. Yeah.
But this was like, you know, 2000s, and it wasn't a mainstream thing. Like, now tattoos are not as taboo as they used to be. You know, because like, I feel like people would see, you know, people tatted up, and it's like, oh, look at that guy over there, and it was like a circus freak. And now it's like, you can get it.
It's normal.
I mean, there's people that I work with that have tattoos on their necks, and it's like,
dude, when I was 18, I never thought I would have 3 tattoos.
Oh, I knew I wanted tattoos.
Well, I
didn't think it was going to be what I got, but it was, you know, it's tattoos.
Yeah.
I always wanted some, and I still want more. So it's like, it's such a drug, man. It's such a weird feeling.
I've already thought about
my
next ones.
I freaking love that feeling. Not the I don't enjoy the actual act of getting tattoos.
I kind of dig it.
I like the day after thing, where like it tingles and it burns. Like, it's talking about
the ankle on me. That one was the worst, just because it was so close to the shin bone. Like, even when he was touching it up,
like while he was doing it.
When I got this one done, he touched this one up for me, because I had a girl do this one on like a flash sale, and I was in a lake like a week later, so where the circle was a little fucked up, and so This one he was doing on my back. He was just sitting there just like on me the entire time. I was watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I was just chilling. That was fine. I was listening to Deadpool in the background. And then I didn't really feel anything. I kind of like had to move my shoulders around just because of like how I was sitting.
Yeah.
But that was it. It didn't really hurt. And then he like just touched it on this one. And I was like, fuck. And it's there's certain positions.
See, and the one on my back, I have a guardian angel that goes from like shoulder blade to shoulder blade. Mm-hmm. But when he was doing some of the shading, it hit my spine. And that shot like some nerve down both my arms, and I felt like my funny bone got hit.
Yeah.
Like it felt like I banged my elbows on something, and then my funny bones were hurting for like
that's the thing is just because my traps and everything are so big that where I got this, he like couldn't even touch my spine because I'm too like.
See, I got the tattoo before I started working out, so in my defense, I ain't got no back.
That's what's weird is like talking to tattoo artists and explain like, here's what I want, here's the problem, and it sounds conceited, but it's a legitimate issue where it's like I'm muscular, and depending on where I put it, like the way I can move can really fuck up the lines, or like can make the tattoo look warped as fuck. So I don't have a ton of spots I can put, and I don't want to put anything on my chest or my arms yet. So like this one, I was thinking about putting it on the calf. I was thinking about like I don't want to put anything on my thighs. I think that's weird. I'm not gonna put anything on my ass. And so I was like, I could put it on a shoulder. I could do this, but then I put it back there. God damn,
that's good placement.
Yeah, no, I love where it's at. And back to everything we were saying, where it's talking about being ourselves with people and everything like that. It's, I think it just kind of clicked with me in the past 2 weeks where it's like, I don't do the whole dating app shit. I've done it briefly.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
I did it when I was like 19 for like 2 months, and no, and
it's
then
not my cup of tea.
I was on for like 2 weeks, like a year ago, and I was like, this is just, I'm just not into it. Yeah. I don't like that shit, and it's very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, if you're just like looking at pictures of somebody's face and going, yes, no, like, there's certain people that I can just hear their voice, and I'm like, whoa, who is that? And then I'll see them, and I'm like, oh shit, they're cute as fuck. Like, so it's, you just hear that, and there's certain things where I've noticed, like, as I've gotten older, it wasn't just my mentality how it used to be where I'm like, oh wow, she's got a great ass, awesome. Where it's like, oh wow, like the way she laughs, I just love hearing that laugh or whatever it may be.
See, and that's what it was for me for
yeah,
Ashley.
Exactly.
And then like I'm already a jokester.
Yeah.
But I would crack the lamest jokes just to see if I got a reaction.
Yeah.
Because I just like love the sound of her laugh.
Yeah.
And her cackle. Like it sounds like a car starting. I fucking joke about it all the time. Like when she cackles, I just sit there. Or when she wheezes. But
but that's real shit.
Yeah, it's real
that's
shit.
Real
like
shit.
it's like guys always have something that they like, that they enjoy, and they look for. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's just, I feel like once you kind of hit a certain mental state, that kind of just changes.
Yeah, and it's I'm at that point where I'm too. Honestly, if you break it down, I had one night stand ever. I'll actually tell you who it was off air, but
we're spilling the good stuff off air. So if you want to hear that, I'm gonna put the camera on the corner.
Subscribe to Ice Cream Boys OnlyFans and learn all the dirty details.
We're actually starting a new YouTube channel. It's called Off Air. That's where we're gonna talk about all the goose, like all the.
We're gonna live in this room, and it's like Big Brother. You're just gonna have 24-hour access.
Oh man, if these wants could talk.
But so I've only ever done it one time because weirdly enough, if I've had sex with people, I've tried to like either continually do it or be in the relationship with them or talk to them. I've never understood, like, I swear to God, I shit you not, except for this one time, which when you understand it, you'll understand it's not the same thing. I've never gone to a party, met somebody, and then I was like, cool, we go home, have sex, and then we never talk again. Never once has happened. Never once.
Okay.
Like, I'm not shitting you. It's never once happened. But yeah, I'm too old for that shit. And I don't know. It's also to a point that it's like, I don't want to invest all this time into like dating random people where it's like each person I've met in my life that has been a significant relationship for me, the 3 that have,
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was going to see them frequently after like the first hour of meeting them. Where it's like, I've been on some dates where I'm like, I'm not really feeling it, and I have like 2 or 3 more dates, and I'm like, oh, I'm not really feeling it. And it's like, despite the fact that those 3 all ended, at the same time,
You saw.
I was into it.
Yeah.
I was into them, and I knew it immediately. And it's one of those things where it's like, I'm just not even gonna, if I don't feel it like immediately, I'm just not even gonna put in effort to it. It's where it's like, I'll be friends with you. We can be friends, and who knows, maybe if something down the line, some spark hits me or some shit, we can go through it. But it's like, at the same time, it's where I think I need to be more upfront, where it's, I have a lot of female friends, and I think it's a mix of, I think it's a mix of, I can do shit like this where I can have open conversations of understanding and I can actually talk to people. And also, like, I'm very big on, if you're meeting me, whatever you want from me, straight up tell me. Straight up no, because here's the thing. If you're a girl and you're meeting me and you want to just be friends with me, tell me. Guess what? You're an amorphous blob. I will never see you as anything sexual. All my lesbians, I think they're beautiful people. Not sexually attracted to them in the least bit, because they're just my friends. That's it. They're all gorgeous. If any of them were straight into it, I'm sure I would. But that's not the case, right? Multiple other female friends that it's like, you are just my friend. That's it. Therefore, I'm not going to yada fucking yada. If you brought something up to me, we could talk about it. But if I felt like I was going to fuck with a relationship or anything, the answer would be no. So it's like, if you're going to be friends, want to be friends with me, just tell me you want to be my friend. Like, that, and like, here's the thing. For girls, I can understand how that's a hard thing for them to tell a guy. Because there are girls who want to be friends with guys, but every guy's trying to fuck them. And the second they're like, cool, can we just be friends? Those guys ghost them.
Right.
Tell me. That's fine. I have no problem. I have plenty of friends that are girls. And if you just want to fuck me, tell me that. We'll talk about it. Yada yada. If you're trying to talk to me or date to me, tell me that. Tell me you're interested. I don't like, you know what, the one thing I fucking hate in females more than anything of that is when you're giving vibes of all 3. Just tell me. Just tell me. Just tell me. Like, literally. And I experienced that recently, and I'm like, I'm out. It's bothering me. Just, I like transparency. I like people being blunt. Tell me what you want. And don't sit there and talk to me one way, and then when you're with me in person, act an entirely different way. I don't like being confused. Alright? Like, I'm too old for that shit. Tell me, like, what you expect out of me. And then we'll go forward from that. That's it. And I know, it's like weird. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's just like, it's such an immature thing. Like, if you think about it, like, not having to communicate because you're scared of somebody ghosting you.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's just, you know, there's a lot of guys who are like that. I know a bunch of dudes that don't have any female friends whatsoever. They have their girlfriend, and then they're friends with their girlfriend's friends, but it's like they don't hang out with them. Meanwhile, I have you, Derek, Landon, and Jacob, and then like 8 friends that are girls. Like, I have more friends that are girls than guys. And that's really weird explaining when I'm like be talking to someone to date them. Mm-hmm. Is like, hey, I've got 5 lesbians I'm really tight with. I've also got like one of my really good friends who lives in Oklahoma. She's a girl. She's straight. I've got these 2 other lesbians, and I've got these 2 girls that I'm friends with. You got to be cool. Like, oh, and some of them are very attractive. So you got to understand, like, this is my mindset. Nothing would ever happen. Especially, I don't cheat. So like, if I'm in a relationship, that's not going to happen anyways. But like, one, their opinion means shit to me about you. And you got to meet 5 of them because there's a rule in place that you have to meet 5 of them.
You get the stamp of approval.
You got stamps. We got 8 stamps. You got to get all 8 stamps.
It's like
we're not negotiating
the Pokemon badges.
Final gym leader.
You are not going to the championship.
Couple, Aaron and Emily.
They're just...
Go! Questions about commitment.
Crazy.
And I laugh like this in public.
Yeah,
Like, and that's what I've been told is like too much. It's like, what do you want me to go? Like, fuck that.
He's
no,
never done
I'm
that.
not gonna do that
Never.
shit. No. What? I can't laugh? Someone's gonna judge me for laughing? I laughed in the face of a man who was telling us he did drugs one time because he thought he was a motivational speaker. I laughed at him because he was an idiot.
I Googled him after that podcast. Nothing pulled up.
Of course not.
Nothing.
It was all fake. There was nothing real about it. But, you know, it's just one of those things that I want to talk to you about where it's like, if you thought what I'm thinking is like a good thing of where it's utter transparency going into if I meet someone and I get that spark and I start talking to them, if you think it's a good idea to be like, look, I want to learn about you. Here's some things about me that are where I think I'm a good person and like how I am as a person. Such as I want to have like open communication in our relationship. I want to like talk about things. I don't want to have arguments, all this stuff. That being said, here's all my bullshit. Here's things I've been through that are hard. And it's hard for some people to accept that like, one, this has happened to me. And two, if they even want to hear about it. Because this is something I've realized too. And I put this in my Instagram caption of our talk the other day. I have met people, the one I dated for 3.5 years, believe it or not, she never heard my full story of my suicide attempt. Because the 2 times I ever tried to talk to her about her, she stopped me and she was like, no, I can't handle it. I don't want to hear it. It's like, fuck me. Like, she just shut me down.
And that's the thing, like, if your partner can't talk to you about something that you're going through, that's such a shitty thing.
Well, that's the thing too, is like in that relationship, I could never convey to her I was upset or whatever it may be because I was supposed to suck it up. And I was like, and it wasn't, and any time I'd ever brought up an issue I had with her, she would threaten to fucking kill herself. She would hit me. She would do all this other shit. Like, there were so many other factors in that it was like hard for me to talk in relationships about shit that upset me.
When you told me that, I was like, dude, you need to get the hell out.
Yeah, I know. And it took me a fucking while, but I did eventually.
Yeah.
It took her threatening people to, and fucking with my work for me to get out. But it's like, I have to tell somebody about that relationship and explain like when I have to explain to somebody, you being nice to me is huge to me, and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's not a big deal. And then I explain my past relationships. They're like, oh, me being nice to you is like a lot for you. I'm like, yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, it means a lot to me. But it's just explaining those certain things of like why I will be extremely grateful for the littlest shit because I've never gotten it before and it means a lot to me. And I feel like I just need to, whenever I meet people like this, put everything on the table of like, here's my personality, here's the shit I've been through, here is like here's my personality, here's my baggage, here's what I'm into sexually. You tell me if after hearing all this, one, if you still want to talk to me, and two, if you think you'll be able to accept and talk to me about all this stuff. Because it's like, I want to be able to tell people, like, I mean, my suicide attempt, the story is fucking horrible, yeah, but it's something I need to tell someone who, if they're going to spend the rest of their life with me, because, one, you need to understand at what point I was at before. I don't think I'll ever get to that point again, but it's like, if you hear what I tell you of how I was feeling and how everything was going leading up to that, if you see that, you can catch me on it early. But you all know it too, so like they have help if they're gonna like be with me.
Right.
But two, it's like seeing that what I was talking about my caption is, if you can't, even I think it's at the early stages, because I think with some people who just click, they just click. Even at the early stages, if you can't hear or don't care to listen to me telling you about these monumental moments in my life, like monumental shit, if someone's just like texting on their phone or like they don't like, they're just like have a fuck it attitude and they don't want to, like, if they're not listening to you and taking that information in, don't have them in their life. That's if they're friends, that's if they're family, that's if they're someone you're in a relationship with. Cut those fucking people out of your life.
Also, there's a big difference between listening and hearing.
Yes.
Huge difference.
There's a difference between sitting there and having somebody talk and you're just letting them talk at you and you're just like, wow, that's wild. And versus like, wow, so when you were 9, this happened to you and yada yada. And it's like, I'm not telling you that's how you need to react, but at the same time, there's a difference between processing the information. If you truly love or care somebody, whether that's a friend or someone you're in a relationship with, and someone starts telling you about something monumental like that, you want to listen. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. Is between feeling like you have to listen to somebody talking to you. If you ever just feel like you're talking to somebody and you have to listen to it.
The thing is, when you hear things, it's just sitting there and letting the other person talk.
Yeah.
Rather than actually getting that information in and having an actual response to that.
Yeah.
Because, like, the way that I see it is when you're talking to me and I'm talking to you, we're listening to each other.
There's a give and take.
Now, like when I worked at Wingstop, I would hear your complaint and do fucking nothing about it. There's a difference where I'm just like, you know, this person's cussing me out.
But that's can't do anything. But that's the point I'm making, right? Is the difference is one person you care about, the other one you don't give a flying fuck about. And you can see that in people early on when talking about certain things like this. So I feel like and
not just that, I feel like if you know, because like if I start talking to someone and I can see their mannerisms and I can see that they can't keep eye contact when you're speaking to them, I stop.
Yeah.
And if they're like, oh, continue, then I know that they were listening. Mm-hmm. And if it just something else comes up, I know that they were just hearing.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of those things that I was thinking, like, that helps me understand what type of person you are. If I can sit there and tell you, like, all this shit early on, one, it lets you know, like, I'm being entirely upfront with you. And if I didn't give a shit, didn't want to give this a chance, I wouldn't be. Right? But two, it's like, this is me preparing you for me so that you're not blindsided by something a few months in or something like that. It's, here's me entirely showing you who I am as a person, why I am that way. And here's everything. Here's the good about me. Here's the insecurities. Here's the bad about me, yada, yada.
And then kind of just do what you will with that.
Yeah, do what you will with that information. And I want to know all of that about you too. I want to know the good and the bad. And that's also almost a test for other people, because if you can sit there and be like, I can't think of anything bad about myself, it's like,
yeah,
we're not going to work. Because I can tell you, like, here's my insecurities and things that I know are a problem that I need to work on myself. And that I am actively working on myself. Now, here's things that people would deem aren't entirely normal about me. Like, I can list off different things about that. But I can never just say, I can't just be like, I mean, there's not a part of me that's like, yeah, I'm a dick when it comes to this. Like, that's just not, you know, I'm just not a dick. Yep. So it's, here's where I can be problematic in certain things. And I have a bad habit of occasionally not speaking my mind on certain things. And here's the trauma of why that happens. And then I am working on that. I've gotten drastically better about it, but it may take, but understand, like, I'm not going to come at you heated or anything like that. I'm going to approach it calmly, but I apologize if this takes me 48 hours to convey to you. And so I feel like that's a good test for one, to see if they're willing to open up to me, because one, show me who you are. And that's a big thing. And so we kind of talked about this in the last podcast, where it's, I now have more issues with, like, people can tell me one thing, but they can be entirely bullshitting me, even if it seems like they mean it. And that's where it's like, this is Texas. From now on, for me, this is the show me state. You can say whatever you want to me. Prove it to me. And that's like something I've conveyed to with...
Yeah, because the actions is a whole different thing.
With my ex, it's literally something I told her is like for our first date, or like second time meeting. She was like telling me shit about her, and I was like, cool, well, I'm going to do this, this, and this. I was like, you don't have to take my word for it. I'm going to show you. And then like a couple weeks later, she was like, you weren't kidding. She was like, you've like done all these things and like been this way with me. And I was like, I wasn't fucking joking. I don't make promises I can't keep. I just don't. Like, if I can't do something, I'll tell somebody either I can't do it or I don't. If I don't know something, I'll tell you I don't know it. I have no problem admitting shit like that.
Right.
Like, if you tell me like, hey, can you make this thing at this time? I'll be like, the short answer is I'm not sure. I would like to, but if I've got work at this time, I may not be able to do this. Yes, blah 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 blah. Shit like that. Like I'm never gonna make false promises to people. But yeah, it's that's kind of what's just been going through my head, and where I've been like, I've had a lot of emotions and things rattling around about my life and about my future and about what I want, what I don't want. Of like knowing I've got like another 6 months where I'm living at now, but I want to come back here, and like understanding about like not actively seeking, trying to find somebody anymore, and understanding when I do find somebody, like here's how I'm going to approach it. And it's like it could suck because this approach could be too much for somebody that maybe I'm seemingly into, but if it doesn't work, then it probably never would have worked in the first place. So it's like like we talked about last time, where it's hope for the best from people, expect the worst. So it's, if you've got this connection like I've got this connection, let me see what kind of person you are by processing all this information I'm going to tell you. And if you understand, because here's the biggest thing, is a lot of people don't understand that relationships take work. They take work. The best relationships you'll ever see take work. They do not just happen without effort. They don't. I guarantee you, anyone you know, I'm sure everybody's got a shining example of like, here's this couple is great together, they're awesome together. Guarantee you they've been upset with each other. Guarantee you they both made mistakes. Guarantee you they both fucked up on certain things. And they've made it work because they put in the effort to make it work. And it's like, I feel like that's something you should be able to see from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And absolutely. I feel like because you can just, I have that sense about people that I meet people and I'm like, I want to put effort into you. And it's like we were saying earlier, like there's some people I meet that I just, yeah, I feel like they look or they do something that I should be attracted to them, but just something is off. That it's just, I'm not into that person. And then I meet this random person and it's like, oh, fuck. The second you looked at me, like I was like, fuck, I want you.
Yeah.
And then, but I think it's having that spark, but understanding I need to have those discussions up front. And that lets me know.
Sometimes you just gotta whip it out, put it on the table, dude. You know what I mean? And by it, I mean like everything. You just gotta just let her decide, bro. Like, are you a sirloin or a filet mignon type of guy? No, man, because like I feel like a lot of people hold back on who they are.
No, I agree with you. And it's
just, dude, just put it out there. Like, who cares? And that was like one of the things that I was talking about earlier. Was like growing up, my parents were just always, oh, so and so's gonna think you did. So and so's gonna. I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't lose sleep on other people's thoughts of me. Like, not once have I ever been like, dang, I can't believe she don't like me, or he doesn't think I'm a cool guy. But I don't give a fuck.
No. Well, and you know, outside of that, like, something that we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but it's if someone is willing to then reciprocate and tell me these things about themselves, because it's something I'm going to ask them, like, tell me about you. Tell me your, like, we joked about that meme of, fuck small talk. Tell me where it all went wrong. It's tell me your trauma. Be forthcoming with me, because one, even if we're not going to be together, even if I meet a girl, right, and this is the first day we're spending together, even if we're not going to go forward with things, even if we're not going to like pursue seeing each other, if someone is willing to tell me dark shit about themselves, I'm gonna fucking listen and I'm gonna care.
Absolutely.
I don't care who you. It doesn't matter to me who you are. If I've met you and I've had a conversation with you, even if I dislike you, I care about you. Even if I dislike you, I'm gonna pull you out from the street if a car is about to hit you. Like, don't ever get that twisted. I don't hate anybody. I don't like not give a fuck about anybody. I may not care if someone's got like a negative opinion about me, but at the same time, I value like all human life. And so it's, if you're going to talk to me about something like this, I'm going to listen and I'm going to understand, because I've been in those situations. And so I think it will be big for me too, of why I think it will be beneficial if I can get someone to tell me this, is like we were saying, if you can't tell me anything negative about yourself other than like, sometimes I'm just too good of a friend. It's like, that's it. Like, It's like whenever I interview people and I'm like, what's your biggest weakness? And they're like, sometimes I just work too damn hard. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. You're not getting hired. It's like, be honest in those moments where I've like had interviews and they ask me, what are your biggest weaknesses? I'll tell them, I get burnt out. I can get burnt out if I'm overworked. I can get burnt out if I'm doing something very repetitive day over day. So occasionally I have to mix shit up. And I hope y'all can understand that. And I feel like that's why I've only ever worked in jobs where it's not just doing one thing all day, everything. One thing all day, everything.
I think I remember whenever you interviewed me for it was you and Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
When you guys interviewed me for title. I think either you or Jacob asked me that.
Jacob did, because I didn't even need an interview. I just had Jacob interview.
Because I think Jacob asked. Yeah, Jacob did ask me, and he asked me what my weakness was, and then what my strength was right after that.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said, what's my weakness? I told him going into this, everything. Because it was an industry that I wasn't never part of,
mm-hmm.
and an industry that I've never been in, nor have I ever showed interest until the day before.
But do you know why I love that?
But the thing is, right after that, when he asked me what my strength is, I said, I learn quick.
Yes, exactly. That's why I love that, because here's the biggest thing.
I'm a quick learner.
If I meet somebody and I'm like, cool, tell me the great things about you. No, tell me your trauma and your fucked up shit, and tell me like where you think you need to improve. If you can't tell me where you need to improve, that goes back to what we were talking about. Nobody's fucking perfect. And if you aren't taking things about yourself and saying, I need to be working on this and that, I don't expect you to put all your time and your effort into like fixing minuscule things about you. Like, oh, I can get like road rage and it can upset me for like 20-30 minutes. I don't expect you to spend 10 hours a day working on that. But what I want you to learn and see that like this is something that is unnecessary that you're allowing to bother you, and that's a negative thing. So I want to see you like putting applications or asking me to help you with this thing. Mm-hmm. I want to see that you're one. That shows me one big thing that is so hard for fucking anybody to do: willingness to admit you're wrong. That's like we were talking about earlier. I'm perfectly willing to admit I'm wrong on anything. If you can like prove shit to me, like I'm not gonna sit there and just, if you prove facts on me or some shit, I'm not gonna go, well, fuck you. Like, I'm gonna go, oh, okay, I guess I was wrong, so let me correct myself now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that's such a hard thing, and that's a lot of people who won't apologize.
I feel like that's just
for
an
shit.
Ego thing.
It is, and it's like I've been with a bunch of people that wouldn't apologize for shit, and we go back to like my now ex. That was what was startling about being with her. Like I said, I had no issue with anything in our relationship, where she apologized to me multiple times for her actions. She would come up, hug me, and say, I'm sorry. And I was like, what? Okay.
Cool.
We're good. Mm-hmm. Like, we're good. Like, you can make a mistake, and it's like, as long as you can recognize you made a mistake.
And that's the thing. Like,
and
people
make up for it.
Like, we're human. We're going to make those
that's
things
fine.
Repeatedly. Yeah. It's just about learning and acknowledging if you were wrong, that you're wrong, and then, like, hey, let's go with, I'm going to try to fix that.
Exactly. And it's the willingness to accept, like, I'm not perfect. I made a mistake. Allow me to apologize because I made that mistake. And then what you'll understand from me is I'm like, if you apologize to me for something, we're good. Mm-hmm. We're good. Now, if this becomes something that it's steady progression, that it's you constantly doing the same thing again and again, and you're constantly having to apologize, then we're going to be like, okay, we need to have a talk about this. And that I'm not mad. But what I want is I don't want you to have to constantly apologize to me because of this. Let's work on this, and I will help you. And that's the thing is, like, I'm never going to ask somebody to work on something about themselves by themselves. It's if you can admit to me you have an issue, or we sit there and as a couple we discuss something that's an issue, I am willing to work with you on it, whatever that may be, because I want to support my partner, right? So no matter like what the issue is, whatever it is they're dealing with, whatever it maybe, or maybe it's something we both need to work on, it's I'm going to support you, therefore we're going to do it together. And I have no problem doing it together. Or we're going to have conversations about it. Mm-hmm. If you're working on it, if you like go see a therapist, whatever it may be, if you're doing research, if you're trying to like read a self-help book, whatever it is that you're learning about, I want to then talk to you about so I can understand where your headspace is at, so I can help you in whatever way I can. And that's just one of those things, and that's where it goes to reciprocation in relationships, and that I would want somebody who wants the same thing for me, that supports me and wants me to... When you say better yourself, it's hard because it makes it sound like... I want somebody who supports me and that I see these areas I need to better myself, so they want what's best for me. And if that's bettering myself in these ways, and even if it's small things that I want to work on to get better at, then I want them to support me through that. But yeah, so it's just, that's where my brain's been at recently, where it's like accepting that it's accepting that I'm about to drop my expectations a lot in a lot of things, and like not actively seeking people out. When I do meet somebody, putting everything on the table all up front, and like knowing I need to drop my expectations because there's a chance that they may reject that. And that's okay, even if I'm into them a lot, because I know what I need in a partner. I know what I need in someone who's going to be in a big part of my life. And I know what I need romantically, relationship-wise, emotional, sport-wise. And if someone's not... And, you know, it's tough. It's tough to even say it, but it's like I have to drop my expectations and like not have as much hope for like each person that I'm into for that to happen, because I truly believe there's like one person like that for everybody. I know it's kind of like, as scientific and as logical I like to think, that's not a logical thing to think. And even if there was one person for each person, there's 8 billion people on the planet. So like, what's the odds? They live in DFW, Texas. But it's, you know, that's just, it's something I truly believe, and that everything will just fall into sync. And while there will be hardships, it's something you both work through and power through. So it's.
Well, I don't think you should drop your expectations. I think you should still continue to do what you need.
It's managing my expectations for stuff like that, and not allowing myself to. It's not allowing myself, like this last one, to, like we've talked about, where I have issues with moving quickly, because if it feels natural to me and it feels natural to them, I just accept it. So I think it allows me to manage my expectations of slowing things down, but also putting everything up front on the table.
Yeah.
Of like, here's the good, the bad, and the ugly. You tell me you're good and bad and the ugly, and let's decide if we both think like hearing these things from each other, one, if it like helps us with our attraction to each other, and two, if this is something we want to pursue going forward. And I think that just helps so that I don't get blindsided by shit down the line, because that's been a big issue with me, is seeing like everybody put their best foot forward, and then a couple months in, then you see who they really are.
Yeah.
Or what they
once they drop the walls,
and what they do or they don't actually mean.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where it's not dropping my expectations, it's just managing my expectations going forward, and not allowing myself to just find extreme attraction to one person and then I'm just like become hopeful immediately, like maybe this is it. It's managing that expectation going in, making sure they know what they're getting into. And because I'm not perfect, and making sure I know what I'm getting into. And then it's just pacing things out from there. And that's like an initial conversation of like, maybe not entirely the first date, but very soon afterwards, talking about that in that way. And then after that, it's a while, and then a relationship, and then whatever else. And I think that's pretty much just where my mind's been at recently. And it's like kind of bummed me out, which it shouldn't. But to me, it's understanding that maybe I've been doing this wrong the entire time, which is disappointing to me, and that.
But it's part of life, man.
It's part of life. It's learning lessons. It's learning lessons. It's just disappointing thinking it took me 26 years to get to the point that I'm having these realizations.
It took me 28.
I know. I know, brother.
So here's the advice for today before we wrap it up. Hey, this isn't the mall food court. We ain't handing out free samples. Whip it out. Have it. It's a meal, man. We ain't putting toothpicks, handing them out. We ain't throwing up lollipops for suckers. We ain't doing none of that. We ain't giving no free sample. We ain't no coupon. There ain't no Groupon for us. You don't go to Texas Roadhouse for the rolls. You get the steak with the butter and the mushrooms. Grilled onions on top.
You ain't getting no discount. You paying in full.
We ain't getting no mac and cheese. We getting the dang onion blossoms, man. No coupon. Cash only. We ain't doing none of that. Come on, man.
Yeah, what he said.
I have no idea what the hell just came out of my mouth.
I don't know, but I can't wait to rewatch it, bro.
Dude, just be yourself, man.
Be yourself.
It's the only thing. It's such a simple advice, but it's one of the hardest things to freaking put into action. It's just be your damn self, man.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that's I'm at that point where it's I don't care anymore if you don't accept me or my past.
It's be yourself because there's so little to lose, but so much to gain.
Yeah, 100%.
That's also going to be on our new T-shirts, merch at the bottom.
We need to start making merch.
Hey man,
even if it's just for us, right?
Yada yada shirts.
Yada yada. Fuck you. You ever have something that's like nobody's ever called you out for before, and when they do, you're like, oh fuck.
That's me all the time.
No one's ever called me out for that before.
So we're gonna have yada yada merch, and some we ain't handing out lollipops for suckers. Suckers.
Thank you guys. As always, like I hope these, like Jose and I were talking about right before this podcast starts, is it seems like the videos we do that are deep, emotional, and talking about stuff like this really perform the best on this channel, and it's something we want to give to you guys more frequently.
And I feel like we have more feedback on videos like these.
I've had a lot of people reach out to me over the last one.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that it's, it maybe something I can put more thought into, that you and I can find stories from our life that we can talk about. But like the reason why we haven't done a crazy emotional line like this in a while is just because we've both been very happy lately. Like it's been, I had this situation and it spurred 2 of these taboo talks in a row. But that's just, before that it was just been super happy for a long time. So maybe it's something that we just sit there and we try to think of certain aspects of our life that have been bad or not been bad. It doesn't always have to be bad, but certain pivotal moments in our life that we can talk about where we dealt with certain things, or where we even like discovered happiness in certain things, or how we accepted certain things about ourselves or people around us, whatever it may be. Just true stories that were impactful, I think, is what it seems you guys like the most from us. So we're going to try to find things and get that to you more frequently. We're also going to do our bullshit videos where we slap each other in the face and whatnot.
That's true. Shoot each other with Nerf gun.
But seriously, thank you guys for watching. I know this is a long one, but this is I can't wait to rewatch this one because I know it's a good one. Go ahead and subscribe to our channel if you have not already. Like this video if you actually truly liked it. And then we will see you guys next time.
Invest in GameStop. Hold the line. Don't sell your stocks. Do not sell them. Hold the line.